Cuban Foreign Minister Bruno Rodriguez accused the United States government of involvement in the events of July 11 and will have to assume responsibility. In Canada, another 160 grade found in a former school of indigenous children. Chinese President Xi Jinping stated that the country will continue to strengthen vaccine medical cooperation with Barbados. Welcome to TeleSUR English. I am Denise Herrera and this is from the South. Cuban Foreign Minister Bruno Rodriguez accused the United States government of involvement in the events of July.
June the 15th. Therefore, I accuse the government of the United States of being linked directly and of having responsibility in the incidents that happened on July 11th. And I warn again that it will be responsible of the consequences if they continue with that policy of choking our country, of inciting migration flows, irregular migration flows between both countries, or the permanent incitation of some senator of Florida to use naval forces or even to use naval forces near to our territorial limits.
Cuban Foreign Minister also said the United States government should list its own citizens, that most of them are talking about the blockade against Cuba, serious responsibility in the incidents that occurred on July 11.
Biden and the government of the United States should first to listen to its own citizens, that most of them talk about the blockade against Cuba and in defense of their own freedom to travel to any place of the world and to receive free, exact information. He should listen to the international community that demands every year with a board that we see the vote of each country and with debates that leave isolated the government of the United States to lift the embargo. Yesterday and in previous days, U.S. spokesperson, U.S. politicians have expressed with cynicism, hypocrisy, and political manipulation. The President Joe Biden issued a communique in which, I quote, he asks the regime of Havana to listen to the people, to the Cuban people, and to alleviate its needs. He even talks about the economic situation of the country.
Normality and calm alive in the streets of Havana after the authorities controlled destabilizing actions carried out by a group of citizens in recent days. In Havana, citizens resumed their daily activities after the demonstrations. The government announces that the destabilizing actions are promoted by the United States. In dissent from Havana, they warned the Washington advances on unconventional war against the Greater Antilles. According to the authorities, the strategy includes media campaigns that reports a false lack of governance in the country, like a failed state and an absolute crisis. The streets of Havana are back to normal after the protests carried out in different parts of the islands. TeleSUR brings testimony of what happened.
They do not know what a revolution is. They have no idea what capitalism is. I live under capitalism. I think that if they knew what capitalism is, and the United States have always been looking for a pretext to come and invade us, because anyone who knows about history knows that with all the things that have happened, They have always been looking for pretexts to come and invade us. That is what they have always longed for. They will have to raise us to the ground. They will have to drag me down because I'm not going to hold back, because this has cost a lot of blood, and what we have today, nobody can take it away from us.
Those are paid groups. None of them do it out of conscience. It is true that the country has difficulties, we cannot deny it, and we have many deficiencies. But why don't they say the same thing about Colombia? They have killed 200 people, and the government of the United States does not say a word. Nobody says a word. So because it is Cuba, then they have to come to intervene in Cuba. Why didn't they intervene in Colombia, which is a Latin American country where 200 people have been killed? So in Cuba, they want to do it. Why don't they lift the blockade? Why did they take away our remittances? Why did they take away everything? Why did they put so many measures to pressure the people? Then they talk to us about human rights. What human rights? If you are the first ones appreciating us.
In Cuba, the Interior Minister reported vandalism in a community in Havana. Antisocial groups in Guinera municipality of Arroyo Naranjo altered the order and tried to head towards the National Revolutionary Police Station with the aim of attacking its troops and damaging. Protesters vandalized homes, set containers on fire, and affected the power line while assaulting officers and civilians with sharp weapons, stones, and blunt objects at the scene. Among the participants of the riots, the citizens Diubis Laurencio Tejeda, 36 years old, resident in the own municipality and with a history of contempt, theft, and disturbances of order. The rest of the injured were transferred to hospital center for their care. Authorities investigate the circumstances of these events. Well, take a short break now and don't go away. Welcome back. In Canada, another 160 graves found in a former school of indigenous children. In the recent days, hundreds of other similar graves were discovered. According to local media, the remains were found on an island of Cooper in the western province of British Columbia. Members of the Penelakut tribe pointed out that the graves lack any identification. The site where the bodies were buried was managed by the Catholic Church between 1819 and 1970. The situation triggered social protests in Canada and in rejection and abuses against indigenous people. The president of the National Assembly of Venezuela, Jorge Rodriguez, presented evidence linking the Colombian government and the extreme right wing of Venezuela with paramilitary groups planning terrorist acts in the country. The head of the parliament revealed the existence of evidence linking the paramilitary groups that participated in the assassination of the president of Haiti, Jovenel Moïse, with the recent violent events in Caracas. Jorge Rodriguez denounced that the company CTU Security, which hired the Colombian mercenaries to assassinate Moïse, could be involved in the attack against President Nicolás Maduro in August 2018. Rodriguez stated that after the assassination of the president of Haiti, a number of violent acts directed from Bogotá against Venezuela were unleashed.
After that visit to a high intelligence mission, so says this gentleman who, as I say, has something wrong with him up there on the head. It turns out that the president of Haiti is assassinated and violence is unleashed, directed and coordinated from Nariño against Venezuela, in the state of Apure and in the city of Caracas, and we will show the evidence.
In South Africa, the number of deceased increased to 72 and more than 1,000 detained after the protest that broke out in the country by the jailing of former President Jacob Zuma. The authority reported that most of the acts of violence were registered in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, the province of Gauteng, and in the capital of Johannesburg. The government deployed a total of 2,500 soldiers to support the police agents against riots. On June 29, former President Jacob Zuma was sentenced to 15 months in jail for court refusal after having refused on numerous occasions to declare for corruption. A convoy of 50 trucks carrying 900 tons of relief supplies arrives in Mekelle in the Tigray region in Ethiopia, but the World Food Programme warns that the region still faces a severe food crisis. The government and the Tigray People's Liberation Front was raided in the last month when rebels launched a major counter-offensive that saw them retake the regional capital of Mekelle. According with the WFP, a total of 5.2 million people, 81% of Tigray's population, need emergency food assistance due to the conflict since last November. More story coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back. France celebrated its national holiday Wednesday with thousands of troops marching in Paris Paradise, while playing roaring overhead and traditional parties around the country after last year's events were scaled back because of virus fears. The event went according to plan and looked a lot like Barbados days of the past. Virus fears are still lurking, but France's government decided to go ahead with the parade anyway. As part of the broader effort to return the pre-pandemic activity, the number of onlookers were limited and they were restricted to a small section of the parade. In addition, each person attending had to show a special pass proving they had been fully vaccinated, had recently recovered from the virus, or had a negative virus test. Similar restrictions will be in place for those gathering to watch an elaborate fireworks show at Eiffel Tower on Wednesday evening. Indonesia on Wednesday reported more than 54,000 new coronavirus cases for the first time, making it Asia's new viral hotspot. Officials fear that the more highly transmissible Delta variant is now spreading from the island of Java and Bali, where outbreaks prompted a partial lockdown that closed places of worship. Malls, parks and restaurants reported daily cases in Indonesia, and now higher than India, whose disastrous outbreak is declining. Despite Indonesia having far less testing by population, the health minister reported 44 cases, 517 new cases and 991 deaths on Wednesday, beginning the number of confirmed cases since the pandemic began at about 2.6 million and the number of confirmed fatalities to more than 69. The Huron went into battle Wednesday to secure a party and its pledge of carbon neutrality by 2050, trading in an epic politician clash over electric cars and fuel prices that could last for years. The plan was unveiled by the European Commission and is intended to transform the bloc's economic from fossil fuel dependencies to a world of net zero emissions. Bruce also hopes to establish Europe as the unquestioned leader on meeting the goals of the Paris Climate Accord. The myriad proposals include an effective ban on the sale of the new petrol-driving cars from 2035, one of the boldest moves against gas users to date.
Europe is now the very first continent that presents a comprehensive architecture to meet our climate ambitions. We have the goal, but now we present the roadmap to how we are going to get there. we chose carbon pricing as a clear guiding and market-based instrument with a social compensation. And the principle is simple. Emission of CO2 must have a price on CO2 that incentivizes consumer, producers, and innovators to choose the clean technologies, to go towards the clean and sustainable products.
Chinese President Xi Jinping stated on Tuesday that his country will continue to strengthen vaccine, medical cooperation on Barbados and help the country win the battle against the COVID-19 pandemic on an early date. The president said that Barbados is China's good friend and partner, adding that since the two countries established diplomatic ties 44 years ago, the two sides have seen sustained high-level exchange and fruitful cooperation. He also said that since the outbreak of COVID-19, China and Barbados have pulled together and jointly overcome the difficulties of the moment. Rescuers pulled survivors out of the rubble of a collapsed hotel in the eastern China city of TeleSUR. At least 6 have been rescued, and government of the district of Wujiang said an official social media feed. 8 people have been confirmed dead and 9 more are still missing after a budget hotel collapse in the eastern Chinese city of the Suzhou, the local government said. 6 others were rescued from the rubble of the Sihi Kanyun Hotel, which collapsed on Monday afternoon. The Wujiang district government said authorities has previously suggested that 14 people had already been rescued but offered the new count. China Foreign Minister spokesman Zhao Lijiang stated on Tuesday in Beijing that China-Russian relations have a certifying example of exchanges between major countries and become a majesty on maintaining world peace and stability. Zhao's comment came after his Russian counterpart Maria Zakharova spoke highly on the bilateral relation on July ahead of the 20th anniversary of the signing of China-Russia Treaty of Good Neighborliness and Friendly Cooperation. The spokesman said facts have proved that the principles established by the treaty can withstand two tests of history and practice, and are in line with the common expectation of the peoples of the two countries and the international community.
2 decades ago, the two sides signed a treaty on the basis of comprehensively summing up historical experience and accurately grasping the general trend of world development. 2 decades since the signing of the treaty has witnessed the accelerated evolution of the world structure and the turbulent international situation. Under the guidance of the spirit of that treaty, China-Russia relations are firmly moving forward and have become a fine example of exchanges between major countries and mainstay of maintaining world peace and stability.
We have come to the end of this new brief. You can find this and many other stories in our website at TeleSUR English. Do not. And join us on social media for TeleSUR English. I am Denise Araya. Thank you for watching.